Wow. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I doubt it can get any better than this. To have a sit down with a man who's running for office in an election year is one thing. Now, congratulations on securing the UDA ticket. Eh? First of all, how was that? First tell us, how was that? And then, so what does this mean for the people of the Great South? How does it mean for them?
Ya kwanza wekelea tu ngumi mbili.
Ngumi ni mbwekse?
Tukiwa hiyo nomination, nilikuwa nasikia wasee Dago akisema za Kiarie ni 5-5, ngumi ni mbwekse. It was a great honor to be nominated by our people to be the flag bearer for the popular party within the Great South constituency. As the flag bearer. But then because we're on TV, I can make an announcement which wouldn't be too much information.
Okay.
That in the Great South constituency, UDA is the only party that dared to conduct a nomination.
Oh, okay.
And our nominations were free, fair, credible, and verifiable.
Okay.
Because UDA is the most popular party in the Great South constituency.
Okay.
Hizo zingine tulikuwa nasikia watu wanapewa ma certificate, nasikia wengine wanapewa kwa lodging, wengine sijui wapi, wanapewa usiku. No, I mean exactly that.
Okay.
Kuna ma certificate watu wamepewa kwa mahoteli huko.
Okay.
Na hata watu wajui ile process watu walipitia. No one went through a nomination process and so on for other parties.
Okay.
But the point was that in the Great South constituency, UDA is the only party that dared to go through the nomination process, which was peaceful. It was, as I said, very fair, very free, very credible, very verifiable.
Okay.
So now we have 6 candidates, candidate for member of parliament and 5 candidates for members of county assembly for the Great South constituency.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sijui nikitaka certificate mimi nitaendea wapi kama zinapeanwa?
Wait. Certificate hata usilete.
Okay,
I'm sure you've been watching the news.
We've covered it extensively.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
So, KJ, let me take you a bit from politics.
Yes.
This is a political satire show, right? And one of the things we love that we are doing, it's people like you who pioneered this political satire, right? And we want to know, like, you're the kind of people who challenged authority using comedy.
Yes.
So what we want to know is, like, where do you think the state of Kenyan satire is, comedy in general, and are we moving well, or what advice can you give us?
Well, first of all, I think we've all got to agree that you're on to something very amazing. I think even the audience, agrees.
Thank you.
This show is very well put together,
Yeah.
And even having some information beyond what we have on set, knowing that it's a boony crew that is on this. I'll let you know that at some point in my career, I was a desk mate to Gado, the cartoonist at Nation newspapers. But seeing the journey that comedy has gone through, from the times when we were doing Ridiculous. At the time we were doing Ridiculous, we were the conceptualizers, we were the directors, we were the producers. We were even doing the makeup ourselves.
Vaseline.
And yes, all the makeup. But you remember Ridiculous makeup was very technical.
Yes.
Because we were only 3 guys.
Yes.
Playing all the roles.
Jeez.
So we would become all these characters. But it really did help that I'd been to school. I'd been to art school, and Walter had also been to art school. So it helped when it came to getting creative about some of these things. And to see now where we are with comedy, I think we've got to give it to the new brand of comedians and people in the space. We can start right here. Tai, you're doing an amazing job. But the point I'd like to make is that every epoch of entertainers comes with a technology that aids that epoch. So that in the 60s and the 70s, we had presenters and comedians who were on radio because radio was big then. And then we had the generation of the Vitimbis and the Vioja Mahakamanis of the days of the single station when we had only one national broadcaster. Then there was the epoch of Ridiculous. The time zone, the era of Ridiculous. And Ridiculous came with the proliferation of the airwaves. When now we were moving from KBC being a solo station to now having FM stations and other TV stations.
Yes.
Now, the new epoch of entertainers is the ones who are now in this digital space. So when you look at guys like Crazy Kenya, you know, he's doing amazing things online.
I love that man.
My all-time favorite is DJ Shiti. DJ Shiti.
Nairobi.
Mtaambia nini watu? Mtaambia watu nini? So I would say that the current crop of entertainers are very true to the technology that is available here today.
Makes sense, yeah.
So you can never quite compare across epochs because you will be comparing apples and oranges. The guys who did it in the Vitimbi time did their really good time.
Yes, they did.
But I was being brief with that history because in between there was also other things happening. For example, back in the day, you know, traveling theater, like Ngoge wa Thiong'o and Kameredo traveling theater. In our time, even as we were doing TV, there was a lot of stand-up comedy happening. The likes of Kachumbari, for example. Kachumbari were very gifted. And they were doing almost what Ridiculous was doing, but now they were doing it on stage. So I can say that we have a good serving of humor in Kenya. And when we are true to the technology available at that time, we can build good superstars. But what is happening here today is amazing. I was just saying to the producers that the show you're putting up can actually now go beyond the borders, which has been... the Kenyan comedy has had a limitation on the lingua franca, the language that is used in comedy. So much so that unaona kuna comedy fulani yezi katoka ghetto. Iko hapo juu ile lugha inatumiwa hapo ni ya ghetto. Kuna comedy ingine yezi toka kwa hizi ma TV za kisapere za vernacular. And what that does is that it limits the audiences. But TMI is now speaking a language that can be listened by over 100 million people in the East African bloc.
Exactly.
So we're just about to kutumia lugha ya mheshimiwa Jagwa, ninaona mkivuka boda.
Exactly. Now you kind of hinted at what I want to ask you next, right? We're talking about artists and creatives and technology space. Now, other than technology, there is the policy space. And you've been at the forefront of like agitating for artists' rights. Where do you think we are policy-wise? And what progress do you hope to continue making as a legislator with regard to artists and policy?
Brilliant. We are not in a very good space in terms of policy and legislation for the creative industry.
Yes, we are not.
And what I can talk about is what some of us who have been given the opportunity have done with the opportunity that we have been given. I was elected to parliament in 2017. And between 2017 and today, I have been part of conceptualizing and bringing to the floor of the House quite a number of bills and pieces of legislation that have helped the creative industry.
Like for example?
Let's start here. That Bunge, as is said, is that when you see Bunge in plenary, what you normally see, Bunge in plenary is actually Bunge in exhibition. The real work is done in committees. And I happen to serve in the Committee of Information, Communication and Innovation. The committee that in the last 4 years has brought to the front a number of pieces of legislation that actually even have an impact on the creative industry. We were able to do the Copyright Amendment Bill of 2018, just soon after I was elected. We have done the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Bill, which has also helped. We have done the data protection, the Kenya Privacy and Data Protection Bill. And very recently, you remember there was the Copyright Amendment Bill of 2021.
That's what I was going to ask.
Which came up and had some very good recommendations that will actually help and aid the creative industry. So wale ambao tulipata nafasi, hatujazembea, hatukwenda kulala bunge. So if someone was able to follow back and see what we have done in the last 4 years, beyond all the other things that we have done, I can say that I have been a part of pushing legislation that aids the creative industry through the committees.
Congratulations. That's a good thing. So, we've been watching nominations. Ile ya kitambo tu Jaguar alikuwa analia. Hii ya leo Bahati analia. Is this like a rite of passage for creatives when they get into parliament? Nomination, hata wewe ulikuwa umenungunika time fulani. So we want to know, is this like a rite of passage kabla uingia utalilishwa? Ama what is it?
Whoa, man. Let me say, these are two of my very good friends.
Yes.
Of course, former colleagues in the industry.
Yes, yes.
But when it comes to politics, it's normally a totally different game.
Yeah.
And actually, I do not even see the comedy in laughing about people laughing about certificates. Because the process is normally a very technical process.
Yes.
That becomes a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when we're doing the general election,
yeah.
there is normally enough budget, enough preparation,
Yeah.
and it is actually you know, presided over by IEBC.
Yes.
But the honest truth is that we do not yet have any single party in Kenya that is able to carry out a national enterprise that is such a logistical nightmare as the political parties' nominations. So what you see are normally victims, and not only artists, victims of a process that they might not have had good control over because of circumstances that are beyond their control.
Yes.
And remember, the reason why you see some of these tears is because politics requires for you to invest very heavily.
Yes.
People are investing their resources, they're investing their time, but even the emotional investment that goes into siasa
is big.
There is a very big difference between doing comedy and what I was doing before and being in leadership.
Wow, but umetoboa.
Yes. Mungu mbele. But in fact, slogan yetu hapa bana wagani, God is in it. Man, bila God kwa hii kitu, man utasukumwa kwa ukuta bana.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, there's been increased reports of like voter apathy, especially amongst the youth. What do you think are the issues that are going to move the youth to get to the ballot? Because many are saying, why should I vote? So what are the issues that are going to get them to the ballot box?
Well, let me say that the one thing that can get people into the ballot box is actually knowing that this concerns them.
Yes.
That you might be talking out there and saying politics doesn't concern me.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, from the moment you wake up, up to and including what time you wake up, is determined by politics.
Wow. Okay.
Ukiamka, price ya hiyo toothbrush, na hiyo toothpaste unatumia, is determined by politics.
Okay.
Ile breakfast utatake, how kama uta afford ngwashe ama ndoma ama boflo ama chapati ama mandazi, ni siasa ina determine.
Okay.
So for the youth, they've got to understand that we have enjoyed a very, let me say, a relatively peaceful time since independence.
Yes.
The last 60 years, if we compare with our neighbors, we've enjoyed a very peaceful time.
Yes.
This is what liberty looks like.
Okay.
But we are reminded by a very good thinker that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance.
Okay.
That we all have to wake up and participate in the governance of our country.
Wow.
Otherwise, these fruits we enjoy might be taken away from us.
Okay.
When you refuse to vote, you're actually giving opportunity for someone who probably has a contrary idea or has an opposing idea or has an evil idea to vote on your behalf.
Okay.
And that's how we end up with the leaders that we see. That's why when people complain about the leaders they have, they're reminded what the Honorable Martha Karua kept telling us, that every community gets the leaders that they deserve.
Okay.
But for voter apathy, this is what I can say, which is practical. That in our time, when we were in the youth bracket, now ni mubabas officially.
Okay, lakini unakaa tu young.
Officially mubabas. But in my time in the youth movement, we were in such a place when there was such voter apathy. Those of us who are old enough to remember will remember that we mobilized ourselves. At that time, I didn't even think I was going to go into elective politics. We mobilized ourselves as young people. At that time, we were using the influence we had as entertainers. Mobilized ourselves around the art space. And we conducted one of the most serious civic education programs ever conducted in Kenya.
When was that?
You remember, in the lead up to the 2007 elections, there was a movement called Vijana Tugutuke.
Oh, I remember.
And Vijana Tugutuke. And what happened with Vijana Tugutuke was us as young people realizing that our stakes are actually in governance. And we said that if we do not have youth representation, then our voice is not being heard. At that time, we were agitating for the youth ministry. We wanted the National Youth Council. We wanted a youth fund. And we got all of those in the Kibaki government. Over and above that, We hit the road.
Yeah.
We hit the road for close to 2.5 years.
Okay.
On what was called the mother of all road shows.
Okay.
Back then.
Okay.
We went to every of the 42 Moi districts.
Yes.
And we held massive concerts in every one of these districts. And what was happening in these concerts is that we had all the big names in entertainment.
Okay.
And it was driven by the youth.
Okay.
For you to watch these big names in entertainment, we charged you very expensive.
What was the price?
For you to enter the stadium,
yes,
you had to have a voter's card.
Ah, brilliant.
If you didn't have a voter's card,
Nani?
We registered you on the spot.
Aya.
We partnered, yes.
Okay.
And at the end of it, we ended up with 2.4 million new voters registered on the voters roll going into 2017. So, into 2007.
Yes.
So the young people today cannot just fold their hands and say, hii kitu tumewachia wanasiasa.
Okay.
Us guys had to step up at a point when all of government was old people. At a time when there was no youth representation in government. At that time, in fact, we were crying that there is not even a single young person in Bunge. And what happened is that we were buoyed by that momentum into the 2007 elections, where by the time we were coming to the last concert, 28th of May, 2007, at Uhuru Park, massive, massive, massive crowds, actually throughout the whole campaign. We had been collecting clouds. You know, people would not believe that these are not politicians, because we were not politicians.
You were just people.
We were just young people who believed what we were doing. And patriotic young people. By the time we were getting to Uhuru Park, the then chairman of ECK, Electoral Commission of Kenya, declared, yes, you have your history right.
Ting, ting, ting.
He declared that we have occasioned a revolution. That for the first time in Kenya's history, there were more young voters than older voters in the register. So young people cannot sit back and decry the voter apathy. They need to step up and do something.
Okay, now you mentioned Mwai Kibaki.
Yes.
And even as you give your parting shot.
Yo ndio wanaitanga GOAT.
Okay.
The greatest of all time.
Okay.
Yes. Mwai Kibaki, the greatest of all time.
I'll have to agree now. But I'm saying the thing is, what are your memories of him?
Yes.
And as you give your parting shot to Kenyans watching this, like what should they expect from you? And generally, what should they be as citizens moving forward? You said eternal vigilance.
Yes.
Tell them.
Brilliant. Well, Mwai Kibaki will be remembered very fondly by Kenya, by the East Africa, and by the world, actually. You remember in 1974, as early as 1974.
I don't remember because I didn't exist. But
let me remind you. By 1974, as early as 1974, the Time magazine had already listed Mwai Kibaki as one of the 100 greatest leaders of the future in 1974.
In the world.
So I eulogize a man who was a gentleman as an individual, but also an intellectual. We are told that Kibaki was never number 2 in any class that he went to.
Like every African parent.
Yes. The good thing about the Kibaki story, it's on record. A friend of mine, John Kiarie, a journalist at Nation, actually went to Mangu and got records. We are seeing now, even on social media, records of Kibaki's report forms from Mangu. Top of his class, by the way. Na alikuwa na wagonga na range. Alikuwa na wagonga na range.
I need to make a note to my director. Usiangalia report card zangu.
So, as an individual, this is an intellectual who was a gentleman. But in public life, you know, we are talking from a guy who was MP Donholm, MP Bahati, MP Othaya for 40 years, became minister, Minister Commerce, Minister Health, Minister Planning, Minister Finance, then became vice president, ended up becoming president. And I dare say, the best president Kenya has had yet.
Oh, wow. Yes. Okay.
So, in his public life, I want to eulogize him as a leader who understood statecraft. Kibaki understood statecraft. And statecraft is understanding that thing called the system. People say that there is a shadowy monster that runs affairs that is called the system. Yes, I remember it's in Scandal, the series. You know, I think it must have been season 3. Where
my MP went to our.
So kwa hiyo episode, in Scandal episode 3, I think it must have been the 3rd episode, you can go check.
Yeah.
I remember they were now putting this girl on a plane and they were sending her away because she had been in a scandal with the president.
Yes.
And the dad, who was an operative, say, wa deep state, alikuwa anaambia huo dem, boss, you should have done even better. Wewe unaenda kuskandal uko na maprezi. Alimwambia, you should have tried even better, maybe even chief of staff, something higher. Akamwambia, you've got to know that power is never in power. The president is never in power.
Oh.
Power is always in power.
Okay.
Now, Kibaki understood power and statecraft. And why I say this is because when you're given the instruments of power at a very high level, such as presidency, those instruments of power, you can either use them for public good, for the welfare of the people you serve, or you can use them to antagonize your people to a point where you see it gets to a point where the people who even elected you start decrying your leadership and they start feeling oppressed by your leadership if you do not understand how to operate within the state and within the system and how to use power for the good of other people. So I must say that the late president, Emilio Stanley Mwai wa Kibaki, understood statecraft and he was able to use power for the welfare of Kenyans to a point where, you know, yesterday is when he was being taken home to Othaya. And you saw the entire route he took from Nairobi to his home can actually be counted as legacy
for him.
You saw the roads on which that convoy was driving through. And you can imagine he did that for all of Kenya, up to and including the great North Road, you know, the Marsabit Road.
Been there.
So let's just say that I will eulogize Kibaki as the greatest president Kenya has had yet.
Okay. Parting shot yako. Parting shot.
Well, parting shot yangu ni to all Kenyans. This is a very critical year. We have to make a decision. And I think the decision that we will have to make this time will not be a political decision. It will be an economic decision. We'll have to make a decision on where we want to see the economy going after August 9th. So the decisions we make, let them not be on political proclamations that are made on the podium. Let us ask ourselves, how did we get to where we are? That we are borrowing 2.4 billion Kenya shillings every day. Every day. That today, Thai, if we were to pay all the debts,
kwanza hizo pesa.
Kuna raia tu inapendanga kutupea do.
Okay, sawa.
Tumemaliza hata zile za kupeanwa zile loans, concessional loans, sasa tumeingia hata PPP. Private people are even loaning us. At the expressway is a PPP. PPPs are good things. They're good things in funding projects. But what I was saying is we are borrowing 2.5 billion Kenya shillings every day. Tie the debts we have today according to Treasury. If we were to pay them at the pace we are paying, we will pay them up to the year 2099 if we do not borrow an extra cent beyond today. These are debts that are in such a way that out of our 3 trillion budget that we read a few weeks back, over 1 trillion goes to paying what we have borrowed. Meaning this country is at a point where we are borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. So this election is an economic election. Let Kenyans vote for themselves. Let you decide what you want for the economy of your country on August 9th. Forget all these things that are being said in the public domain. And that's why I believe that if what we have done for 60 years is not working for our economy, what we have done for 60 years, Thai, is where we have an economy that is at the top, is supposed to trickle down to the bottom. But it doesn't. But now the problem is the people at the top have made it in such a way that it's not trickling. We might just want to start investing in the talents of individuals at the bottom and pumping investment into our farmers, into our businessmen, into our traders, into our innovators, so that if we can give them a shot in the arm, then they start creating a groundswell where the economy grows from the bottom going up, yani bottom up.
Wow, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, John Kiarie-Kj! Wow.
Huwezi taka niambie watu wa Dago kitu.
We have to, the first we tell you watu wa Dago waambie watu nini. Waambie wasitusikie.
Ty, in the last 5 years, we have been very diligent with the work that we have given by the people of the Dagoretti South constituency. It is in the last 5 years that we have been able to put up 5 new secondary schools in the last 4 years. It's in the last 4 years that we have been able to make sure that all our chiefs in the Dagoretti South constituency are not in Mabati houses. They are now very esteemed offices. It is in the last 5 years that we have introduced a school feeding program, the first of its kind in Kenya, where the children who are enrolled into the feeding program are having 600 grams of food and a fruit every day in school. It is in the last 5 years, in the time that I have been given, that we have been able to take up all our primary schools, renovated them, reconstructed them, rehabilitated them. Our primary school classrooms now, public schools, are actually competing with academies in terms of learning environment. And it is in the last 5 years that we have taken up infrastructure very seriously, taken up roads that were dilapidated, we have improved them. So my thing to the people of the Dagoretti South constituency, pengine niseme wameonja divai ya kwanza. Lakini Biblia inatuambia divai ya pili ilikuwa tamu hata kuliko ile ya kwanza.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you very much, KJ. A man of many faces. One time he had Joseph Kamodo's face, but here we are now. KJ atufanyia ka imitation kamoja hapo.
Who are
you doing?
Tay bana, in those days when we were doing Ridiculous, bana, I played many characters.
Wow.
You know, JJ Kamodo. I played Mwenje. I played
Lucy Kibaki.
Yes. Who would I be playing today? If I was in Ridiculous, who would I be playing today?
There's this guy. He's the MP for the Dagoretti South, right?
That's Umse ako na bosi yake.
Okay.
Na bosi yake angekuwa hapa.
Angesema nini?
Sijui angesemaje, naona ni kama angeileta ile design ya. Lakini ile maswali wewe unauliza bwana Tai. My friend. Mimi nakuambia hii maswali unauliza bwana haitupeleki mbele. Wewe ungekuwa hapa tunatuambia maneno vile tutachukua hii kitu kuanzia bottom tuipeleke up. Yaani bottom up. Kwa sababu hii serikali tunaenda kuunda. Serikali hii ambayo tunaenda kuunda hii itajumuisha kila mtu ndani yake. Ndani ya serikali tutakuwa na mtu ya wheelbarrow, tutakuwa na mtu ya mkokoteni, tutakuwa na mtu ya mboga, na hata wewe Tai mimi naona utakuwa ndani ya hii serikali.
Ladies and gentlemen, we still have it, John Kiarie! Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Asante. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so I will give you